Hi everyone, Ms. McCalmon here. Today we're doing the demo for the non-objective charcoal drawing. You might want to have your practice technique page near you just to reference. And then you can get started. So we're going to start by adding a 1-inch border. And we are using the 10 by 14-inch gray drawing paper that will look like this. It's in your kit. I'm erasing my edges a little bit. And then charcoal is pretty messy. As you can see, I'm already smudging. So there's an option to tape your border, but you want to de-stick it first. That means sticking it maybe to your pants leg or something first. That way when you go to take it off at the end of making your drawing, it won't rip your paper or be too sticky. So I chose to tape off my border. It'll also keep your edges clean, because this is probably one of the trickiest parts of this project, making sure the edges are clean. So I'm just de-sticking, and then there we go. And now I'm ready to start drawing, and I'm kind of just gonna start by making some round forms, just kind of moving in a rhythm with my arm. This is not objective, so it's not based on anything particularly. I'm gonna smudge it a little bit. The gray paper gives us a tone already, but I'm gonna kind of just smudge and end up with kind of a starting point. I could go back and erase some of these marks too, so they don't show up quite as much. But a lot of this is intuitive. We have done a few projects at this point. You need to keep in mind composition, negative space, balance, movement, rhythm. So it's about placing things in specific locations, but it's a little bit random. So it kind of takes us back to our first project where we're filling in value where we think we need it. But you definitely want to fill your page with forms. That's why I recommend starting with maybe some big oval shapes or just circles, maybe a few lines, just to get you started. And it's hard to think non-objectively because we're always looking at things and referencing them. Even when you're done this, you might see things that you recognize, but you're still not using images to draw from. So this is my starting point, and I'm gonna start filling in some value areas, and we're gonna go to my time lapse, so it's gonna speed up quite a bit, but I'm just filling in value where I think I need it. Every once in a while, I'll take a step back and see what my composition is looking like. Now I'm gonna go into my time lapse, but I slowed it down, so it's gonna be a little bit jumpy, but I'm filling in value areas where I see fit. Maybe adding some more lines or a form. I'm going back and forth between shading, blending, erasing. You might want to trace a shape. I did that to make my circle or sphere. I had a scrap piece of paper that I used to put under my hand so I didn't smudge. And we're kind of using all those techniques we've been working on: pencil control, shading. It's non-objective, so you don't have to think about a specific light source, but you should still have a full range of values and areas of contrast with specific intent. That just means that you're thinking about where you're placing marks, thinking about repeated lines or forms. This is all about aesthetic choices, so what you're liking and what's interesting to the eye. So I have some more geometric straight lines, rectangular forms, but then all throughout I kind of have the circular or elliptical forms or shapes. And it's just going back and forth, and I'm just building up shading and using my eraser to bring out my highlights. At the very end, I'm gonna go in with my white charcoal, but save that for the end because it'll really make things pop. And it's easy to get muddy and messy. So I recommend not using your white charcoal until the very end. I used the impression or ghost technique too, using my toothpick to kind of scratch into my paper and then gently shading over it so you can see that clean surface of the paper beneath. And just it's choosing which areas you want to bring forward with value. This isn't very structured, so it might be a little bit difficult to think about because it's even further than abstract. I'm going in and I'm cleaning up with my white eraser. If your eraser is getting messy, you can use your sketchbook page, just a blank sketchbook page or a scrap piece of paper to erase a little bit to clean up your eraser surface. Because right now my lightest lights are just the tone of the paper, which is gray. So then at the very end, when I bring in my white compressed charcoal, you'll really see how it pops. They also make white charcoal in pencils, but your compressed charcoal has a pretty nice clean edge and you can get pretty good detail with it. So I'm just continuing to kind of go back and forth, and I'm stepping away every once in a while to kind of take a look at things. I'm erasing areas that I think are maybe too large. I'm using my paper as a hard edge to draw against or to erase, so I get a really clean, straight erase line there in that left corner. That kind of oval shape seemed a little bit too light when I stepped back from my composition. And again, using that scrap paper so my hand doesn't smudge my work. And a lot of times I'm using my pencil control. I'm holding my pencil kind of at the end, and I try not to rest my hand on my paper when I'm drawing. And now I'm adding in that white charcoal, and you can see that it really is much lighter than the tone of the paper, and it's bringing out those highlights. I didn't really use the gray compressed charcoal. You may, but it kind of leads to a little bit of a muddier effect instead of using your charcoal, your black charcoal, to really get a good range of values. It's a little bit of a shortcut way to make mid values. So I'm adding in some decorative lines. This is really up to you to decide what you want. Is my final drawing. With the tape on, I recommend taking photos at a few stages. So here, with the tape still on, and now I've ripped my tape off, and you can see there are some places where the paper pulled up, but this is not my final image. The lighting is not even. I haven't cropped in my edges. The bottom right-hand corner is a little bit cooler toned and in a shadow, while the left upper corner is lit by the lamp that I was drawing by, so that's a little bit warmer. These are things that we notice when we grade your projects. So really take a look at the how to photograph your work and make sure you're getting a high quality photo with even bright lighting. And now here is my final photo that is cropped. I'm still showing the border, but it's cropped in. There's no background information. The light across is even, and you get a really clear view of my drawing, because that's really what the focus should be when you're documenting your work. And that's the non-objective charcoal.